So here's the deal. Just like you guys, I love to look at other Transformer reviews from everybody else here on YouTube. And my favorite ones are the ones who I get to know a little bit more just because it helps me understand where their opinions stem from, and basically just helps me get to know them more as a collector. And I find that information really helpful. And I figured that, maybe I should start doing that for you guys, because, I put out reviews not very often, but it's nice to know, I guess, why I think a certain way about a certain Transformer or toy for that matter, because I've been questioned on certain things, and I've been criticized for being overly critical of toys and whatnot, and I figured maybe this will just help out to just understand where I come from when I do these reviews, and how I write them, and what I think about and what I look for in Transformers or any other sort of figures. And I figured that from here on out, I'll try and do one of these videos every month or two, and I'll just try and tell a little story about what I feel about certain topics. For example, anything from the Transformers movieverse to Shattered Glass, Beast Wars, you name it, I'll probably get to it eventually. And so for today's review, or today's topic, I'm going to be talking about G1, or Generation 1 Transformers, and I decided to do it with this one because, first of all, it's probably the most important of all the Transformers fiction, and it's one that I've been asked a lot about through provided personal messages or comments on videos, and because if you look through my channel, there is no G1 review. Even when you look at my other reviews, there is no filmed G1 toy in there, except for maybe, I think Haikyuu, and that was it. But yeah, so Generation 1. Well, first of all, let me start out with saying that I was born in the late 80s, so I didn't grow up with Generation 1 like everyone else. That's not to say I didn't watch the cartoon. My grandfather actually would tape reruns on VHS for me while I was at school, and when I would get out of class, I'd come home and we would watch back-to-back episodes of Transformers and Star Trek The Next Generation. And that was basically a lot of my early school days. And, I watched the whole thing, the whole series. I didn't see the movie, so you can imagine I was confused by the time I got to Season 3, and Optimus was nowhere to be found. I didn't really question it, though. The show was great. I loved it as a kid. But looking back, it was a bit hokey, and honestly, it's just a 20-minute commercial for toys. Surprisingly, though, I never bought a Transformer. Instead, the only one I have is this guy here, Power Master Prime, and he was given to me by one of my older cousins who was entering high school at the time, I believe, and, well, you know how it is. You get to high school, you lose interest in toys, you try to be grown up and cool, and you look at girls and stuff, and, I have a similar story, but that's for another review, or another video, sorry. And, at the time, though, I don't know, I may have been like 4 or 5, and I got this guy, and this was every boy's plastic dream toy right here. I mean, he was Optimus Prime, he was big, he came with his trailer, then they combined into a bigger version of Optimus Prime, and it was awesome. Now, of course, when I got him, he was in much better condition than you see here. First of all, he came with all his accessories. Nothing was broken like this thing here, and the gray was gray, not yellow. Stickers were all here, and there were no scratches, and I even had the box, but when you're a kid, you just lose these things. It's acceptable, I guess. But yeah, I love this thing, But I got to the point, I grew up, or not that I grew up, but I got older, and I started thinking to myself, like, I want to play with these things. When I was younger, I just kind of held this there beside me while I watched the show, but as I got older, I wanted to reenact scenes, I wanted to put them in cool poses that I saw on the show, and this didn't cut it. This just did not cut it, and by the time we rolled around to say, I don't know, Beast Wars, and that was really my Transformers, like, fall in love with, and I first got a hold of him, Optimus Primal. Oh my god, I was blown away. Now, in hindsight, this was just an okay toy, but compared to this, I mean, sure, arguments can be made that this was bigger, metal was used in some areas, stickers and such, better paintwork maybe, maybe not, but this was a better thing to play with, both robot mode and the beast mode were good, and this just doesn't cut it. And so, we'll skip it to today, and well, these guys, I've always thought about replacing this, and, well, you know, it's just really expensive, and when I look at a toy now, it's not so much that I'm looking for, oh, I don't know. I just feel like G1 toys, the reason they're so expensive is because they have a lot of nostalgic value with them, you know. They, they're essentially people who I find who buy G1 toys are trying just to relive their childhood memories, and because I don't really find myself that attached to the original fiction, I don't really care. And when I see things like this go for $100, $200, I just think that's ludicrous and that's crazy. Especially when you look at the value here. You know, a lot of people may say, a lot of Transformers collectors may say, "Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's mint in box. It's nothing, no yellowing, all accessories included." And yeah, but ultimately it's just gonna sit on your shelf, and I'm the type of collector who likes to take things out of the box, who likes to still play and toy around with them on my desk, and ultimately you can't do that with G1 toys. They just kind of, you buy them and you put them on your shelf, and it's like, hey, there's $200 I spent that's never gonna move and collect dust, and that's why I don't really like these things, and ultimately they're pretty crap toys. I know that's probably gonna upset a lot of people who are watching this, but that's how I feel about G1 toys. They're just kind of boring and not really there for me, you know, but that's not to say I have anything against people who collect these. If you collect G1 toys, you know, more power to you. I just couldn't see myself buying that stuff. But as for me liking the fiction, yeah, I love the fiction, and if I ever wanted a G1 toy, because for the longest time I've always wanted an original 84 or 85 Optimus Prime, but if I just want an Optimus, I might as well get, you know, the Masterpiece line is there for me. Yes, they're not really, or their character selection is very low, but everything they've put out I feel has been what I've wanted out of G1 toys for the longest time. And yes, they are expensive, but they're totally worth it in my opinion. So, I mean, there you go. A little insight onto how I feel about G1. Again, you know, I feel like it's more like I respect the G1 fiction, but I don't really find myself too attached to it. And it's the same reason why when there's a new iteration of Transformers, like a television show, for example, Prime, and Soundwave isn't a cassette player, I'm not upset. I actually prefer him never to be a cassette player and never have that gimmick anymore, just because it's just not relevant today. I mean, like, who cares, you know? Or Megatron, like, people are always upset that Megatron doesn't turn to a gun, or Shockwave doesn't turn to a gun. Honestly, it was cool back then, but today, it's kind of pathetic. Like, if I were a big, badass, evil dude, and I turned into a gun and I couldn't fire myself, I would be the laughing stock, I think, of the team, and I would easily be overthrown. So, I'm kind of glad they just turned into a giant tank, flying missile thing all the time. So, there you go. G1 Toys, sorry if I upset you with my opinion of the fiction. But, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and found it kind of interesting. You know, it may not be for everyone, but I feel like if you get to know me a little bit more, that'll probably be more helpful when I have more upcoming reviews. Speaking of which, reviews that are coming up next, I actually have filmed a whole bunch, and the next two that are going up are probably going to be purple Decepticons. One of them is going to be this guy, Shockwave, Fall Cybertron Shockwave. The other one's the Jet Viacon. I don't know which one I'm going to put up first. If you guys have a preference, let me know. But and I don't know if I'll do them back to back. They'll probably be staggered, maybe by like a week or two. But yeah, about this guy. This guy is okay. There you go. You don't have to watch the review. He's just okay. But yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you next month, where I will be talking to you about Beast Wars. See you then.